Should be good. What the heck? I can't get my lights correct. My clothing. Maybe I have my tailcoat down. It's better. Hello, Stars Ball. Second. Only to Vesper. Frames are hanging on at 16. That's better. There we go.
Totally not my fault.
Not your fault, don't worry. Just making sure everything is working as it should. Oh, this one doesn't have aperture, no wonder. Ah, yes, the only night I sleep late on weekend you're on. Hi there. Goodness, it's cold, isn't it? You know what? It's true. The temperatures here in the Philippines in particular is much lower than usual. In some parts of the country, one of the major cities, I believe it's like 13 degrees Celsius, which is, it's nuts. I hope things are kept that way. I'm a big fan of the cold after all. Not cold, freezing cold, but functional cold. Oh, was that it? Light volumes. I'm still messing around with the lines. Can't quite get it right. Soft hue of red here. Give me cold, prefer that to the heat. 100%. You need both, Mitzi. The heat again in my country. Not good. Super not good. Why if it isn't the ever so great Demon King himself, Bev? Welcome back. It's been a hot minute. By a hot minute, I mean a hot, 2 weeks that you were gone. Welcome back. We missed you, you know. Sadly, the first stream in a while I can't watch, but have a good one. Up. I appreciate you dropping by, Fluffy. See you around. What's this? Wallow. Fola. Why if it isn't Wallow? It's been a while. How are you? Good to be back. Of course. Hello again. I'm at the gym, getting my grind on this year. Notice I have to mix the brownie and sour apple. Brownie and sour apple, Vesper. What is this brownie and sour apple crap? I cannot imagine
like
brownies.
Supplements?
No, yeah, I know. But Fluffy, thank you so much. The stream is getting a roll on great. This angle's not agreeing with me. Maybe not so narrow aperture.
I mean, like, I get people putting applesauce into brownies themselves, but mixing sour apple, like, what is it, protein powder?
Yeah, protein powders are okay.
Brownie
But
flavor.
even if it's a pastry, mixing apples and brownies are.
I mean, my mom used to put applesauce in the brownies she'd make. One time they bounced how much applesauce she accidentally put in, but you know, you couldn't tell.
I have heard about candy coated apples. Chocolate apples, though. That is completely foreign to me. How was it? Chocolate apples, Vesper.
Oh, like chocolate on an apple?
You said
As
that's
long
what
as
you
the
tried.
apple's like, it's just sweet with sweet, so it kind of works.
You see, the main problem I am perceiving here is you have the nice soft creaminess of chocolate, correct? And then you have the spongy crunchiness of apple. You know, maybe it's a texture I have yet to try. It might work. Who knows?
Yeah, the last time I tried it, it was okay.
Raspberry looks very nice. I love the updated model. Thanks. I'm glad you like it. It's most definitely an improvement.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah,
very-
he worked too hard not to get the
Uh,
praise.
If you may notice, we're back here in the balcony, right? I'm trying to find a way to get creative shots going in this very limited and cramped environment. And let me tell you, that has been proving to be a challenge. I've been setting up the cameras for what, a good 40 minutes. Let's play around. There's this, there's a full establishing shot where you and I are talking, right?
Hmm.
There's that. But then again, people are not able to see the full extent of our characters. Do I zoom out and make it look more stale? No. The one earlier was better. And then the second shot I can do is something like this. It's from the back. A bit lower. Nah. It has to be from the top. 100% has to be from the top. There. Mondays. Mitzi is saving up the points. I see. Have you not had like those caramel apple treats you forgive? No, I haven't actually, but I am most curious about their taste. Also, let me pause this music. What? Not feeling this track. Spotify, I summon you. Stream. Dang. Better. Higher. Lower. Further. Like this. You can see the city behind me. The Vesper's wings get updated too. It is currently in the works. There's a few hiccups. It's okay in Unity, but not in game, which is strange. Right. It sure does, man. What if I go with the letters? Maybe the letters work better. Nord, thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate it. Thank you. Ah, I know. Just turn off the reds. Maybe the camera's too close. Random question. If you want to start streaming with VR chat, what would be the best advice you could give to do so? One, know the content you want to make, and two, your target audience. And then you go from there. Are you going to be those conversation type streamers, which is what I do? Are you going to be a dancing sort of VR chatter? Is it going to be more of a collaborative thing where it's you and a bunch of people in the same space? It feels more empty on stream, which is strange. You're usually so popular. Well, you see, people have their own lives, right? And another piece of advice I was going to give you as a streamer is be prepared to have even your most loyal viewers start to get bored of you, to an extent at least. They'll still show you the courtesy of showing up and saying hello, but everybody's honeymoon period will expire eventually. Crowds, they come and go, right? They'll watch your show once, twice, thrice, and then eventually they're going to go to not necessarily greener pastures, but different ones. There. Also, if you're a girl, you have streaming difficulty like cut into like 1/4 of what it is. You do so much easier, so much better. So yeah. Also, if you've noticed, I'm not streaming on that clock app anymore. I don't know. There's too much compromises to be done in order to fit in that landscape. Well, that landscape orientation. I'm a woman, yes, and there you have it. As long as you don't act crazy, right? You are not annoying to the audience. Because you see, as a woman, it's very easy to annoy the male demographic, which is gonna be the majority of your viewers. Also, a pro tip: sad, but the reality of things. If you're a female streamer and you're just starting out, do not, under any circumstance, tackle or openly discuss the topic about relationships. Like, oh my god, chat, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my boyfriend. Bam! Everybody, that's male is gonna leave. Why? Because of the way the viewers' minds are wired, right? There's the whole parasocial thing that, well, that's inadvertently there. But I could go more about it, but it hasn't even been 15 minutes on my stream, and I don't want to tackle a deep, kind of a hot topic. Let me make it simmer first. I'm also super annoyed because I can't get my shots proper in this world. Ugh, I burned so much time. Maybe I should have just settled in one of my established places. Yes, hello. Think about it. Hollywood celebrities, right? Think Jackie Chan, for example. Everybody loves him. Such a legendary actor. But he keeps his family, his private life, his wife, completely under wraps. It's not mentioned, right? You see, people, when they idolize an entertainer, there is a dosage of possession that happens. And when they are ingrained with the truth that there is somebody closer that has something they can never attain, it immediately weakens their link towards said entertainer, right? Have you seen idol culture in Japan? Right? Some idol agencies absolutely forbid their idols to have boyfriends, right? Or if they do, it must be completely under wraps. It's bad for business. That's it. It's really bad for business. You have very bad drift on your chest.
Oh. And you didn't see that.
Oh, we didn't see it, chat. Where were we? Right. I adjusted some of my audio settings so it shouldn't be as overpowering as before. But you have to let me know as well if my audio is a teeny tiny bit lower than usual. I'll be back. Gotta assist a friend with moving. Also, take a break from beating my head against. When you get back, Beth, for a small amount of. As your friend, I don't mind helping you with face tracking. Absolutely. Now go help your friend first. There are a lot of different. Yes, a multitude of them. Oh, so you had to modify the FBX. You cannot patch a modified FBX at all, okay? So you have to get your base avatar and then patch it, if I remember the process correctly. And that's how things are done. Always separate private matters from business as a professional. Exactly. Unless you're a porn star. But then again, no, you gotta separate that, right? Because sometimes, like, there, as an adult content creator, you work as a team, and the team is the one that's anyway. You get my point. So yeah. The sad reality of existing on the internet. Of course. You have to consider, are you going to stream as a living? Is it going to be a business? And then there's a ratio between personal enjoyment, a hobby, and then a business. You have to see which slider you move towards. Business, hobby. The more you lean towards business, the smarter and more sacrifices you have to make, and the more effort you gotta do. Gosh, I feel like I've taken such a long break on streaming. Um, but alas, here we are. I don't know. I'm not feeling particularly inspired. Visuals. Oh, the visuals. So hard to get it right tonight. Hmm. I know. Shadow's a bit lower. There. You know, all that smoking is bad for you. I know. That's why I don't smoke. Have you ever considered that this is perchance vapor? Well, Logos, the only reason I ask is you've been doing it for a long time, and I figured with my newly added conditions I can't work retail anymore. But I need a source of income, so might as well do something fun too. Okay, if it's for a living, as a woman, you know what sells the best online, right? Starts with an S. Again, ratio. How much are you willing to sacrifice? Abandon dignity and everything else in exchange for a quick buck? Or are you going to take the middle ground, right? Like what I'm doing. It's just not the most lucrative approach to it, clearly. Or you could also go brain rot, but those are that gets a lot of numbers, but doesn't get a lot of money because you're attracting kids, and kids don't have money, right? Kids that have like ADHD and everything. You can also be a guy with a female avatar. Ah, yes. Dredge up the gooniest of gooners. Hello, Alena. Well, what else? Gosh, I don't have anything conclusive to share. They're mostly harsh. They're mostly things that's gonna get me discussed on Twitter if I prod any further. Let's not go that way. Been a while. Hello, Marnage. How are you? The last time you mentioned having problems with your water, have you gotten fixed? Yes, I have actually. For the shower and the bathroom, my hot water system, I have gotten a 400-liter PVC reservoir. It cost me like $50 for the container and then this and that. Excuse me, for the others. And then for my drinking, it was a simple, ingenious solution, right? So I run tap water into a 7-stage filter, and then from the 7-stage filter, usually that goes straight towards, well, my glass or cup. So what I did was I changed my output from the filter to be a float valve, a stainless one, right? And on that float valve, I put it on top of a 20-liter dispenser, the one with the little spout on the bottom, and then you fill it from the top. So it's gonna automatically top that off until it's full with filtered water, and I will always have available drinking water. Now, that 20 liters should last me at least a day or two, or at least until the building pump cycles, which is great. It offers me a buffer. Hello, Gib. How are you doing today, my Philippine lizard? I'm enjoying the cold weather, that's for sure. I had to bust out the thicker blankets. I don't know. I have fun doing DIY fixes and whatnot. How about you, Vesper? How's your day been? Aside from you waking up not so recently. Hello,
not
Beth.
really.
Hold on. Go on, and then I talk to Beth.
Well, not too interesting. Just did a little cleaning before I went and ate, brushed my teeth, the whole routine, and then I'm here. I'm on stream.
So the first thing she did was head to stream. Oh my goodness. Also, Beth, thank you so much. My goodness. Ooh. Ooh. I know, right? Like, I can't do it without my sponsor. I mean, yeah, I'm not being sponsored. I actually don't have sponsors. I completely live off the charity of kind people like you, and you in the back. So thanks, man. Truly. Also, you know that bike? Remember I had the fundraiser here? I've took it off as I promised, right? Also, because I keep on saying it, it means I constantly think about it. I feel like I need it. And then I start getting impatient. So I took it off. And then from now on, we're really just gonna go with whatever I need to float for the month. When the bike arrives, it arrives, right? Besides, you guys have been helping me so much already. I am getting not only a surplus of coins, I'm getting a surplus of calories. I have discovered, remember when you gave me pizza money, you and Ard, the pizza, it lasted me 3 days. The stuffed crust is no joke to consume, especially that 8 cheese abomination that was delicious. It was an 8 cheese pizza, right? Then it had like little bacon bits on top. Can you imagine? 10% of the goal, just like that. I look, Bev. Let's just say he's a wise man, right? He's a wise man when it comes to avoiding red flags with like bombshell entities. There, I don't know how else I can describe it. I know, Nord. Remember, not everybody lives in luxury like you do. I have to purify my water and my air. That explains your voice. It sounds kind of off compared to your other voice. Are you sick or something? No. I had too much gain in my previous setup. So I should sound softer, perchance. Is that how it is? Let me listen. Mike Ox. Check 1 2. What do you mean? It sounds great. It doesn't sound crunchy anymore. But will we get Chibi Geb pointing to the other bar? If by popular demand you want him back, I can have him back. Super easy peasy. Maybe when we reach half of the goal, he'll come back. Have a little mascot. Got myself a water distiller in my house. I can't trust the water. Right? Don't. I would rather be safe than sorry when it comes to anything that I put into my body. H2O, most particularly. Kuya Gep, can you ask if Vesper wouldn't mind being called Ate Vesper? Do you mind being called Ate Vesper?
I don't mind. You're good.
You know what Ate means? It's like big sis.
Older
Vesper.
sister.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it. You got the approval. Also, it says one of my trackers is low battery. What?
Oops.
Oops! Which one is it? Oh no, not the one on my head. We can't have that. It means I'm gonna start drifting. Guess I'll be charging after. Oh, well. Stuff happens, huh? We're both having tracker rolls. My left knee tracker actually isn't working, only my right one. It wants to think that it's like 3 feet to the left. I have no idea why. I may have to repair it. And then your trackers are starting to fly off. Sometimes, chat, you may notice that Vesper intermittently snaps and whatnot, right? That is an inherent flaw of having small slimes. But then again, the benefits really outweigh the cons. In order to mitigate the whole the snapping thing, all you gotta do is get a USB extension cable, route it above your ceiling so it broadcasts directly above your play space. Don't have it on top of a desk or worse on top of a metal PC case, just standing up like that, because you are killing the signal. That's why we're gonna get you your cord after stream.
Yep. And some command strips.
And
so I can hang it.
100%. So yeah, there you have it. Small slimes. A tax write-off. You know, you have to educate me on what those are. All I know is in America, you guys have to go file your own taxes, right? Which is strange. Here it's all automatic. And then you get like a tax return of sorts. What is that all about?
Mm-hmm. I honestly have no clue.
Because you haven't experienced it yet.
No, I do pay taxes.
But
I work.
yeah, but do you
I
do
have
the whole
taxes to pay.
write it off at the end of the year thing?
Yeah, every May.
Every May.
Yeah.
Oh.
So first, you've got to grab these documents from your employer. Second of all, you either figure out how to do it yourself or hire someone to do it for you. And then at the end of it all, you've got to mail it in to ship it.
Sounds like a big pain in the butt. Well, I'm glad I don't have to go do that, huh, Chan?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I know businesses have to do this special thing with the BIR, like the Bureau of Internal Revenue. I'm not really educated on that part because the government taxes us from a lot of things already, the value added tax and whatnot. Also, hi Mitzi. There we go. We have somebody more by exponential numbers knowledgeable on slimes than I am. So yeah, small slimes, right? The very, very short transmission range if it's just like the flat PCB antenna sort of deal. Okay, where were we? A lot of people hire their own accountants and bookkeepers in the Philippines, but how to deal with annoyingly high value-added tax. There are talks about knocking it down from 12% to 10, which is, hey, I'll take any percentage as a yes. Beth goes, IRS, you owe taxes. Me, how much? IRS, do the math or you go to jail. Maybe you can like make a 5% deviation from calculation. That sounds like an awesome phrase. Deviation from calculation. That's going to be my album name. Wow, if it isn't Matthew with a very lengthy reply to Nord. Wi-Fi signals work as an emitter. The range of emission works better without interference. The roof is a clear path since it doesn't interfere with nothing around it. Different is when, for example, you have a modem in a corner near a wardrobe like me. The signal wiggles. It wiggles due to the bouncing into other surfaces, creating what we call latency. This is increasingly worse when you don't have good Wi-Fi or when your house is saturated with so much devices and hiccups happen.
Yeah, in my case, I'm not the only one here. There is 4 other people, several other devices. So I use small slimes instead, which do not rely solely on Wi-Fi to work.
Yes. Can I do a funny persona angle? There we go. Tilted camera. Ooh, creative. Optic fiber solves the issue here. Hello, Dip. Me is the only 2.4 gigahertz devices I have would be my hallway camera and the balcony camera, so I can see the outside world. And then there's my phone, right? And that's connected to my one modem, and then I have a second router, which is just specifically for my headset, so I don't really get the drops and whatnot, the hiccups. Mitzi says, I've been working on creating a dongle for Wi-Fi based trackers, and it struggles about the same with walls or any obstructions. But I'm planning to test a different antenna. Looking forward to it. And then it's gonna be $130 per tracker. Please stop with the tax chatting. I'm chilling right now eating some mango and I don't want to remember taxes. Pardon me for bringing up a small but very important tidbit about adulting. Kuya Gib, is your internet provider reliable? Oh, absolutely. Globe is fantastic. You see, even, for example, I get an outage, they're automatically going to file a technician visit before I even need to call their hotlines, which is something I enjoy more compared to my old provider. PLDT. Ah, $7 only, I see. So when is the horror story hour by the fireplace? Fireplace, huh? I could have sworn we had a world that I said I wanted us to. I remember now. I was supposed to lie down by the balcony. There we go. I only had partial idea,
Oh.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, we've hung out there before.
Yes, precisely that balcony. I kind of want to hop there midstream, but it means I need to reset the cameras and everything. It means I have an idea for the next one then.
Mm-hmm.
Next stream's gonna be a more relaxed one, that's for sure. Vesper, please put that down on notes. Next stream, balcony.
Mm-hmm.
I'll buy base stations one day. One day. I still can't believe I had my base stations turned off for more than a month. Well, my one singular base station at the corner of the room, the most important one, was turned off since the end of November because I knocked out the I knocked off the plug. I was like, why am I getting weird tracking issues? Like my chest and my waist would just act funny. Mm-mm. I remember now, says Marge. And then an ad plays. Good thing Gib has Vesper. He might forget his head somewhere. Right? Isn't it fantastic having somebody reliable? Look at Vesper.
Even though I'll probably lose my head far quicker before he loses his.
Shh, you're fine. You're smarter than I am. I'm just wiser. There's a difference. We complement each other.
At the end of the day, we could fill in for when one of us is being, you know.
Right? Look, I'm gonna do the essays. You do all my math homework. Yes. Two heads are better than one. Absolutely. Matthew says, wait, I just saw the throne. Are you becoming a treadmill streamer? That is what I plan on doing, actually. Not only is it good for my health, but I get to hit two birds with one stone. I get to exercise while I'm also streaming. Right? Instead of me just sitting down and being sedentary for another year, might as well add some movement, some dynamism that actually helps the streamer. I gotta be strong and fit for my pending to be acquired bike. It's not a light bird, let me tell you that. Does you see me like walk? Hey, chat, what's up? Whew. Ready Player One, huh? Oh, like the omnidirectional treadmill. No, 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 I'm not going after that. I'm just going after an actual treadmill. A step counter, huh? What? You don't want to see me walk? So we could be seeing a Gib gym stream sometime in the future. A possibility, yes. Not necessarily me lifting weights because I don't want to. That's gonna be hard with controllers. But I may do the exercises I used to do in VR, where it was me, Mecha Fluffy, and the others. Vesperos there too. Where we do body resistance exercises and a bunch of cardio stuff. Well, why not, right? Yeah, the Disney omnidirectional thread, but it's so expensive. It's a special floor, a motorized floor. Imagine if your play space is just this one big gym, right? And you even have an oval track inside. You just do jogging. No, that's terrible. Stream ping will need to join after my meeting at the top of the hour. Ah, okay. There. Why not doing squats? You know, fair. I used to. It's part of the program. Especially squat holds and the side ones. It's really tiring to do. But me just standing up and holding poses like this is pretty boring. I would rather have the natural sway of a walk. Or a fast-paced, walk. I don't think I can jog on stream chat. That's gonna wreck my hardware. Oh dear, why am I yawning a lot? That's not good. Oh, ain't it nice we can hear the cracks and everything? It would be cool to see maps that are large and moves with you like an actual hike. I remember seeing something on social media, right? It was a group of VR chatters who's doing that exact thing that you mentioned. There's a certain app which they use in conjunction with a treadmill or like their steps or something, and I do believe that's what enables them to have locomotion. I looked into getting an omnidirectional treadmill, says Beth. They are so small, so I was fearful I would fall off. I don't think we've matured enough yet to have anything that looks proper. Because I saw the principle of it and the demo videos. So it's the circular pad, right? Where you essentially rely on low friction in order to move. And then on your waist, you're essentially tethered by a band. It makes you look utterly unnatural when you do the walking. Because you're like sort of hunched forward and yeah, we're not there yet. Excuse me. Maybe it would be cheaper to just rent out like a warehouse or something. Make that your super play space, right? Hmm. But alas, most of us are constrained to the bounds of a residential sized play space. A home. Well, my ride arrived be back soon as already. I've seen some gym maps in VR chats as Music Hug. I don't know if it's only for the ones who have VR headset and there's something on the map. Ah, yes. I used to attend this thing called Soaring Fitness before, right? Oh, hello. Why are you jiggling? I used to attend this thing called Soaring Fitness before, and yes, there was a gym, but it was just the yoga mats being placed down. As for the treadmills, though, that's something I gotta explore. I can buy a treadmill now. I have a gift card from work. No, remember our goals. We're going to hyperfixate on what's important. Your G P U. You've been putting it off for so long already, Matthew. I think it's high time we actually invested proper resources into it. Another good way to get steps in would be walking in a Filipino mall. That's true. Before I used to do that, I would travel to SM, if you know what that is, Schumer. And I would window shop. I would have a grand total of $15, maybe $20 as a budget, just in case. But more often than not, I would just end up going to the food court and eat a meal. Why, if it isn't Miss Salas, hi there, wanting me to drink. Of course, why not? The internet cut out. Welcome back, Vesp. What the heck? Why can't I drink from it? Oh, because I'm hitting my mic. Ayos yun there. Wow! It looks so weird. I'm covering my mouth. There we go. Refreshing. Oh, I was talking about another SM, not Mall of Asia. Welcome back. Seems like the abyss swallowed you.
Yep, it did. But I'm back now.
Lovely to have you. Hope you're all doing well. Yes, we're doing great. Thanks. Cinder saying hello to Vesper. Also, you made me dig through your VODs yet again. I found it at the 2 hour something mark because of that shout out. I do believe it was somewhere along the parts of you trying to pull Strutsky into streaming. Nonetheless, thank you for the shout outs in there. Speaking of creative shots, I've been challenging myself to look good in this environment. This is such a narrow space. Look, how on earth do they make this look creative? Huh? Time to give you a scavenger hunt. Come on, I just give me a timestamp of when you say it. I had to watch your whole stream because I was editing videos, right? I was splicing some clips, and then I said I need a break, and then like, what's this in OBS? Of course. So I had a shout out, right? And then, all right, let's listen to the vote. And then Bombard joins. Yes. Mm-hmm. No, not gonna give me the timestamps. Okay, yep, Geb, no, it's so I can bait you into watching the entire damn thing. Oh, the cruelty. How have you been doing, Gab? Oh, I'm doing okay. Thanks. Starting the year fantastic. Oh, yeah. Also, I'm not streaming on that other place anymore. Again. It was more of a hi, it's holidays, and bye, the holidays are over. Cinder says, I only have nice things to say. Thank you. Gosh, I wish I could give little medical and health tidbits the same way you do. If I try and give any sort of health advice, they would see it as a joke. Oh, chat, did you know you need to eat your potatoes at 350 degrees above Fahrenheit in order for you not to have and suffer any of its latent radioactivity? Oh, chat, did you know if you bite, actually 2 bites, into a stick of butter every morning, your blood will be well lubricated, so much so that it improves your cardiovascular performance throughout the rest of the day. A metabolic boost, per se. Just gotta, bite the butter. The nice thing is you can also use the butter as a substitute for soap because it leaves you nice and fragrant. The smell of freshly cooked popcorn in a cinema. Who wouldn't want that aroma, right? You just go like, that's butterlicious. Mm-mm. Mm. Now get being nutrition as well. What now, a trainer? Yes. I could go to all sorts of shenaniganistic advice, but I wouldn't want to make Cinder, who was an actual EMT, fantastic guy, knowledge and experience, to have his ears bleed. I believe Geb has one, a trainer. Mecha. Oh yeah, he's my bestest of buds when it comes to physical endeavors, exercise, dancing, which he has yet to actually lure me into. Oh, they're bleeding. Great. Ain't it great? Cardiovascular lubrication. Stick of butter. Bite into it. Mm. Or you can substitute it with 4 tablespoons of margarine instead. The only health advice I get is being told to sleep, says Mitzi. I'm glad you got some proper hours recently, but then again, I know you offset it with improper amounts in between. Looks like I gotta summon the tunnel snake in order to discipline you into closing your eyes. Of course, I mentioned Stratsky not more than 5 minutes ago. And who comes crawling out of their hole, hiding? Did I greet you a Happy New Year yet? I think I did. You summon him, gosh. Just from the dark. Shh. How about you, Silas? You have anything health-wise that you want to share? Please, bet. I don't know. We could play a game of chance, and I might be able to grant your request. Last night, Dorian coaxed me into sleep. Oh, we got the Dorian special, I see. I wonder what that could be. If it worked, then it worked. I keep on mistaking Vesper's ears through the glass. This is glass chat. This I'm looking at the reflection, and because my overlay is blocking her head, it's just her two ears poking upright. And I think there's like a child with its arms raised. It's
Nope, just a pair of bat ears.
yes, that's true. Thank goodness. I would be terrified if there was like a young human somewhere here. Mm-mm.
Listen, I already worked retail for the past 3 days. I think I'm good with dealing with children.
I'm good with dealing with children for good. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Since it was the night before I worked day, yes. The only health facts I know are more of those unsettling ones, like along the lines of your skeleton is wet. I would be worried if it was dry. Imagine if you developed like skeletal dandruff. A horrid thought to imagine, right? Gab, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Grootty. New Year, new me. Except me, it's New Year, same me. But better. What's this? Vesper looks like she's getting over. She's getting over all. She's tired of everything. Just like me every morning. Every morning. Are you tired of everything, Vesper? Sure. Okay. No.
No, I'm
A little
not
beat
tired
from work. A
of
little beat
everything.
from work.
Yeah. Because, like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday straight of just working. I'm just beat. I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah. 100%. Give him 20 milligrams of moisture so stat his bones are dry. Ugh. So imagine you have like skeletal dandruff, right? And then it starts to flake off and flow in your bloodstream and forms little clumps, giving you a stroke. Sorry. Sounds like an incoming infarction. Yes. Elena says that's a new thing I can add to a game. Would you rather for $50,000, right? for $50 million, they're going to give you. You're going to be under a medical study. Right? They're going to give you a drug. right? But it's going to cause the inside of your mouth to dandruff for like a year. I could make it worse, but you know, we gotta be
Criminal.
honest.
Criminal.
That's horrible. Imagine. Ugh. When you sneeze, like, and there's like a cloud of snow just comes out. And that's how I lost 20 viewers. Just like that. I'm joking. Changing topics. I am feeling awfully peckish at the moment. Okay, I'm hungry. I could have sworn I just had some banh mi. It's this Vietnamese sandwich. It's delicious, crunchy bread. Uh, but what do I have after? You should have bought some stuff from the grocery, Gab. We ain't going nowhere. Okay. Kuya Gab, have you ever had pancit canton in the middle of the night? You mean the instant noodles that sells for like 20 cents each? Yeah, before, until I found out how bad it is to your kidneys because of the absurd amount of sodium it has. What, 1000% of your recommended daily intake? Mm-mm. I think I've had enough of that when I was young, a kid. I ate like 4 or 5 packs in one go. And then I had like some bread. I put it on bread, which makes it worse. I leave you because I gotta do my meditation and gotta sleep. It's 10:32. Props to you for having a disciplined life. 10:30 sleeping, meditation. Wow. I'm glad you're pursuing the path of health and wellness, physically and mentally. Men- Meditation, huh? What do I meditate upon? Usually, when I go meditate, I simply trawl through the good memories I've had from before, from yesteryear, kind of like reliving the sensations, the experience in my head, all the while enjoying the comfort of the softness of my pillow. As of late, it's just been all melancholic ones, nostalgia. Much like biking through lots of vacant lots with the light of the golden hour kissing your skin, wind by your hair, your face. You could sit in the grass, you'd hear the dogs barking as you bike past them, your friends in the neighborhood that you used to play tag with. That sort of melancholic. What's it? Here's the story for chat, says Nord. We cleaned the fridge and we found a piece of meat that was ready to sprout legs and start its own life. And the stink was horrid, bad enough to make wallpaper peel off the walls. Okay, so we threw it out and the stink remained in the house for days later, apparently. So it was really bad and nasty. I'm not sure how you could deal with the aroma now blessing your home. Hmm. Having a proper sleeping schedule could not be me. Gotta cast that spell again that's gonna make you pass out on your drawing tablet, and you shall get another 8 hours of sleep. How would one make Nova Pendragon fall asleep? Relief. A conversation. But I take it she needs to take more than just that. Like a nice warm cup of milk. Definitely. Transparent. That's what I meant. Imagine my surprise finding the trash cans in the ditch. It seems like the sanitation crew. You said no. Imagine just the trash guy comes to collect your bins. Like, mm. Just not doesn't even load it into the truck. Just has a whiff and then just nope out F4s on the spot. Oh my God. It reminds me of this video I saw on Instagram, right? Where this girl bites into like a bag of
Oh no! Don't bring that one up. Don't.
she had some like juice.
No. Stop.
If you know, you know. Oh, just quickly search for pancit canton and salad. Sometimes contain shrimps. Ah, okay. I literally just ranted about sleep hygiene. I remember. Yes, that's what you did talk about on stream, right? Have a habit. Put the phone down. Go to bed. It's important. Consistency is key. Have some discipline. Discipline. Tell me in DMs what video.
Oh my god.
It's worse than the kid inflating the balloon. I'll show you later. God, even my Instagram showed me that stupid video. It was disgusting. Waffle Carp, you saw it, right? That clearly a vampire, but not for necks, ain't she? Would be taking care of their bodies like we get more than. That's true, exactly. The whole point of Cinder's discussion at the time that stuck to me was you are given one body, and that's it. That's what you have, that's what you work with. Which is a reality a lot of people take for granted, right? You take yourself for granted because you can function, you can walk, talk, breathe, and whatnot. And then as time goes on, these bad habits start to pile up. They take their toll. Lack of sleep, consumption of sugary drinks, overconsumption of pretty much anything, and lack of exercise. Your joints start to squeak. You lose strength, mobility, which is super important. And then the regret happens. You're gonna start exercising when you're overweight. That you're now on maintenance meds for gout or high blood pressure. The consequences of neglecting yourself while you were still young and capable. Thank goodness I don't drink soda or anything. On paper, I'm a very dull guy. I don't drink. I don't consume anything aside from maybe a bit of chocolate every now and then. My only real vice is motorcycles. At least I go nice and quick, right? Gotta make sure. I'd rather snort surströmming than smelling. It was that bad? Oh, I can't imagine. My goodness. Motorcycles, yes. I am an avid bike lover. Not sports bikes, though. They are highly impractical and gives you absolutely terrible posture for commuting. Bad for your wrists and back. But more of adventure motorcycles. Used to ride off-road a lot. That's fun. If you crash, it's just Mother Nature giving you a kiss on the cheek, right? Maybe a few branches and rocks too, but that's better than being turned into a crayon on asphalt. I'll take crashing into dirt or gravel any day. Okay, maybe gravel's like hard, but at least it like moves out of the way. You see, sports bikes are fantastic machines in countries with long stretches of roads, like America, for example, like Europe. But in the Philippines, our tiny, teeny island nation in which roads are unreliable in consistency, it's where you need something capable of riding when there's no roads between your legs. Hello, Wask. Why, if it isn't the not cute African dog hiding. It's not viable in the expressway. Sure. 4 says, yes, I live in the middle of the desert, so there's nothing but straight roads for hours. Get a sports bike then. Or a cruiser, right? Just, yep, there's gonna be 3 hours of this. Other words, my feet are full of bikes now. Waffle goes, I saw a 2016 Africa Twin going for 8K on Facebook. It had the engine cage protection and extra bits and bobs. I. Oh my, you have to bring the Africa Twin. Oh, now I'm thinking about it. Um, yeah, it's a fantastic bike. Great, and it's super cheap for 8K. Then again, it's a 2016 model, so it's like the early modern ones. Hmm. I still gotta save up some more, chat. It's expensive. You see, even though I have the bike acquired, for example, the accessories is what makes it expensive. I have to get the protection, I have to get the mountings, and then the lights, and most of all, the storage solutions, the side panniers, and then the top box. It all adds up. It's a little like 3 grand more, or 4. Are high handlebars ergonomic? I suppose. For some, not really for me. Motorcycles do look fun to ride, but no, not for me, says Nova. Too scared to get on. Ah, I see. That's what we call being a wuss. Should you get the chance to be in my place, I'll show you what it feels like to. Right. Hop on the back. Something I said I'd show Vesper one day. We'd go around. Show you all the lovely places that's got super cheap but super good food. What did you have for breakfast, by the way? I forgot to ask.
Literally just some cereal milk.
Could go for some cereal milk right now. Be nice. Ooh. So, Waffle says to Nova, you should worry how to spot on a bike. But not even getting on. Spot? Oh, I'd love for you to take me on a route. Sure, we're going to take the off-beaten path. River crossings, a bit of mud, light enduro. Sounds fantastic. Stop. Oh, yes. Found a horror game in VR to try someday. Well, someday. You mean after stream? I expect to see you after an hour and a half.
Hour and a half, huh?
Or, well, 1 hour
I
and
mean,
20
we're an
minutes.
hour and 15 minutes in.
That's it, 1 hour and 15. Sorry. I know you yawned too, chat. I just noticed you have an iris, says Salis. It's just the same similar color as your sclera. I never noticed before. Yes, because I like keeping my design simple. But when you look at it closely, you're going to have a view of the details. Don't you yawn snipe me. I got you. It's actually that common having cereal with milk. In my country, a basic breakfast could be some milk and bread. In my country, breakfast is bread and some coffee. And then you dip the bread and said coffee sometimes. It's delicious. Pan de sal. That's what we call the bread. Spanish. Was it of Spanish make? No, it's this little palm sized, really soft, nice, and golden crusted bread. Soft too. I didn't have your stream up. Your yawn sounded more like a painful groan. A painful groan.
Oops.
Cereal and milk is common in the States. Yes. I find it odd how we still call it pandesal even though it's not salty. It has a fair bit of salt in it. I mean, it's definitely not tasteless. I often consume pandesal even just on its own. But I'm a big fan of peanut butter though. Especially the ones without the damn nuts in them, like the chunky ones. I like it nice, smooth, and creamy. Or if it's not coffee, we have coffee right in the bread, and then sometimes we either have hot dogs or just plain old sunny side up egg. Something like I had this morning, says Music Hog. A cup of milk with a bit of coffee and a butter with ham sandwich. Butter ham sandwich. Butter. Cardiovascular lubrication. Great job. Cereal and meal is a god tier meal. You know, I'm a big fan of the chocolate cereals, right? I would fill a bowl with Milo, the cereal, right? So if this is the tip of the bowl, my cereal would be like a mountain in the middle, and then I would pour the milk and then see my mistake because the cereal would overflow, and then I'd vacuum it off the table, and then I'd fill it up some more, wait for it to soak, so the chocolate from the cereal would mix with the milk, and then I have my delicious broth. I can't eat cereal when it's dry. I mean, when it's mixed with milk, but it's still dry. It's a bad experience with Cocoa Crunch. It would wound my upper palate. What cereal did you have, Asper?
Reese's Puffs.
Reese's Puffs. Okay. Wasn't good.
Yes, pretty much just chocolate and peanut butter cereal puffs.
And I absolutely love Reese's peanut butter and chocolate. Oh my goodness. That's what I fear. Whenever I go to like a grocery and then I go to like the candy section and then I see the M&Ms, the Toblerones, the Hershey's, the Cadbury's, and like, oh no. And then I see Reese's. It's like, oh shit. Stop. Blood sugar. Watch it. So yeah. What's this? I still find awkward those who eat fruit as a breakfast. I'm not saying it's not correct, but quite a strange thing. Nothing wrong with eating a fruit on breakfast. Why shouldn't you? Do you do song requests? Probably the wrong stream, pal. Speaking of country-specific foods, I found out not everyone knows what sweet pickles are. This is a good thing there is in. Sweet pickles.
Yes.
Yes?
Those exist in the States too. I don't like them.
What are they? Just like whole pickles that are sweet? Just
Like those whole little mini pickles that like have a sweet taste to them for some reason.
oh.
I don't like it.
I like it when they're in brine. Or in vinegar. It should be delicious.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's when they're actually pickled. I don't know what it is with the sweet ones though.
I'm not sure either. Sounds strange. What's this? Oh, hello, Mr. Gambus. Nice to see you. Hello, Mr. Goodman. A pleasure seeing you here as well. My new year has been peacefully uneventful, just the way I like it. How about yours? Anything exciting happen? New connections, friendships, achievements, financial milestones. Dill pickles only. Spicy pickles I have not heard of. Uh-oh. One thing I like though is pickled ginger. It's color pink, right? Usually you serve it as a side dish to things you order in a Japanese izakaya. It's delicious. Strong taste, more of a palate cleanser. Another hydrate. Yes. I would sooner visit the bathroom than end my stream at this rate, it seems. Sorry. In the West, you call it the toilet, right? Not just the bathroom. Here we just call it the comfort room. The bathroom. Mm. Why won't you close? Come on, buddy. There we go. Whoops. What's this? Roland says, boom, boom, ambulance, fire trucks everywhere, burning buildings. Attack at the police, so it was fine. The moment I was shooting rockets when they... Oh. So it's either you were under the influence of something we cannot discuss, or you were dreaming. Gotcha. Sally says there are many names: toilet, bathroom, restroom, washroom, the porcelain throne, or as I would like to call it, the contemplation chamber. Oh, okay. It happened. All right, Mr. Goodman. Let's get you your medicine and wheel you to your room, okay? I'm joking. If it's actually factual, then cool. Very eventful. Toilet is a safe haven to have peace and quiet. I think TikTok and Instagram, like more than half of the audience, active user base, are those that are in the toilets. The Johns. The John sounds very American. The loo. Oh, the loo. I don't know. A big old 150-year-old church got burned down. Many cars, many buildings was burned down this year. Was so crazy. It's like the purge. Oh, I know what's happening. I saw that on the news. All I can say is if you guys can't make wherever you came from better, why do you go to somewhere else that's better than your place? Something about loving your country and whatnot. Meanwhile, where's the CR? Yeah, we call it comfort room here. Hiss? Really? You can't hiss at the flag?
Huh?
What about the snakes? We're us with forked tongues. It kind of just happens naturally. I'm under arrest, aren't I? Says- Music Hag says, the bad thing is that one of my apartment's bathroom got a broken pipe and now I have to use the other one. Don't have a shower, so I have to warm some water in order to make a 5-minute craft shower. That used to be how I used to take a bath back then. I would have a bucket, I would have a kettle with boiling water, pour it in said bucket, mix enough room temperature water until it reaches a happy medium, and then use that to take a bath. Gosh, that was such a hassle to do. Bit of a slow Monday today, isn't it? Yeah, so weather is a perfect reflection of it. I'm so tempted to just lie down and take a nap. I don't know. I kind of just want to chill, lay back, relax. What's your plan today, Vesper? Why did he look like I caught you mid-crime? Like,
Because
what the heck?
I was like freezing up for a moment.
Oh.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi being fine.
I don't have anything planned.
Okay,
I just got some cleaning to do after stream, but that's about it.
Oh gosh, chores where you're gonna miss the fun parts of the meetup again.
Nope, it's just getting the living room put back together.
Okay, all right.
So it shouldn't take me more than like half an hour.
I hope so too. I remember back then you were gone for like an hour and a half, 2, 3.
Yeah, because I was putting away Christmas decorations.
Oh, that's true. I had a laborious task to do. What's this? One wild New Year celebration. Why wasn't I invited? You gotta ask Mr. Goodman. Seems like he has a very action-packed series of events around him. That's the same thing I did this morning in order to shower. The little bucket and kettle thing I was talking about. Not the most comfy way, still efficient of not trying to have the filth. I see. Me on my new year, I guess the most exciting bit was me walking outside, having some sashimi, some good old tuna and salmon. It isn't nothing fancy for $12, and say hello to some people. Send a message to my brother, and bam, it's 2026. I was also in VR chat. Why, if it isn't the glad scientist? Hello, Art. Pleasure to see you here. Done with your meeting. What new scientific breakthroughs do we have today? There's gonna be a new larger Hadron Collider. The even bigger Hadron Collider. Gosh, chat, I'm getting the yawns. I may have to cut stream down to 2 hours instead of the usual. The yawns is stemming from me being hungry. If I let my hunger pass, I can become really sleepy. Not much, just Art. Mostly just people figuring out what to do this week post-holiday. Uh, with all the celebrations and whatnot dying down, I can imagine, right? Reunions are over, get-togethers have concluded. What now? Why, the answer is simple. VR chat, Art. Tell the hungry to wait. Need some discipline. An EP voice listen. Oh, no, stop it. I'm about. I almost leaned backwards. Ah,
I'm gonna grab him by the tail.
can't help it. I'm starting to get sleepy. Oh, no. Oh, it's one of those streams. I'm starting to tear up. Ugh. I was trying to remember what emails I forgot to respond to. Ah, you know, Art, I think this game called Abiotic Factor would suit you very well. It's literally about playing survival as a scientist in a research facility with stuff happening to it. Entities and things going out of control, different universes and dimensions. It's all, yes. You start out by what? Crafting a crossbow by being creative with office equipment. A meter stick, a ruler, a rubber band, and some pencils. I don't know, Nord. Wait, I have a picture of said such scenario. Remember when we were at that world and then I was pulling you by the snow sled? No, there's a picture of you in the snow
Oh,
sleds. Yeah. It's a sailing world. I need to dig up the photo. It's somewhere in the VR chat pics, Nord. Um, 2025. Isn't it 12 a.m. right now? No, it's currently 3:06 a.m., Mr. Goodman. Couple of more hours and I should be able to see the sun. The game does sound up my alley. Check it out. Thank you. Of course.
Oh, you make me yawn.
I'm still here. Huh. I'm not sure, Kahotas. Maybe you can try refreshing the web page perchance, or lowering the video quality. Maybe that'll do something. 10-minute chat and I'm gonna skedaddle. It's getting bad. Once you start chain yawning, that's when you know you gotta go. Yeah, right, Nova. Oh, it's back. Welcome back. Hello, Gib and Vesper. Hello, Bomb. I was just talking about you on Cinder's stream earlier. I was saying how you guys are baiting me into watching your VODs by giving a random shout out. And like, God, shit. I asked Cinder, so you tell me the timestamp next time, right? Cinder's like, hmm. Okay. That's a great job during the last stream. I like the whole left and right camera thing. Go hunting, detective. You see, I'm super sleepy. I'm barely hanging on.
This guy needs to eat something.
I most definitely need to get something. That probably makes it like 10 yawns.
Dang it, Gab.
If only the jangle of coin would be heard, that would wake me up 100%. Shut up, not you. Quick feed give some lasagna. I don't know about that. Oh, son of a gun. It's not stopping 5 minutes, not 10. And then I'm gonna go. Oh, shoot. Why is it so bad? I know why. So, recently, the weather in the Philippines, right? It's gotten really cold, as I mentioned. And all of us are so used to the heat. So, with the sudden plummet in temperatures, the majority of the population, including myself, is feeling really lethargic. Also, the crime rate probably dropped by more than half because there's like no more road rage incidents because it's cold. What's this? What's your definition of really cold? That one time I went to an amusement park, Ard, and then it's a stink place called Snow World. I think it was negative 20 degrees Celsius. So outside it was like a good balmy 35 degrees Celsius, and then it's negative 20 once you go through this airlock. And we were just given like a super thin like parka that we put over ourselves. So this is it, huh? This is how I die.
That's like a cold day in winter here. So
yeah, but you guys are used to it. You ease into it, right? Oh, it was. To be fair, aside from the biting cold, I actually really loved it because inside this it's like a warehouse or like a set. Inside Snow World, there is a small part where it's a park. It's a park. There's a park bench, a street lamp, and then like a pathway. And then there was nobody else, right? The rest of the people were just going around in like the ice sculptures, and I just sat in the park bench, just like this, with the cold. And that's why I felt peace. And I said, this is a sensation, an experience I need to look for again. It felt meditative for me. It was quiet, it was cold. We even had like this weird there was actually snow blowing out. There's this enormous blowers on the corners of the building that's just like letting snow fall. One day, one day, my dad told me the cold puts hair on your chest. Really? I don't know if I want that. I think I'm good being smooth chested, thank you. What's the problem with being a cold-blooded lizard? Sleepy when cold. That's it. I'm warm though. I'm just super minty fresh, but I'm comfortably warm. Yes. What's this? Take a gander on Discord. All right. Photography. Sure. What's this? This is how cold it is outside. Oh wow, there's frost on your door lock. I would draw funny shapes on it. Is that Reed? It is Reed. With a bunch of fursuiters. Okay. The headbutt. I'm sorry, I kind of wandered off into the memes channel. What's electronic mail? Has the cold at least been a nice break from the heat? Yes, absolutely. This is like the Goldilocks temperatures. I think our country will turn into a first world one if we have this for several years. But unfortunately, this coldness that we're feeling will only last probably into February. Got me enjoying it while it lasts. Then it's gonna become really hot, blazing. When you look at the road, it starts to wave hot. And then it's gonna become really stormy, like 20 storms in a year, sort of deal. And what's new? '24. Oh yes, trust me, it's such a big difference from the usual of like 40 plus that's here. It's terrible. On paper, it's like 40, 42, 44. But it's exacerbated by the immense amount of traffic. So anytime you're outside the building, there's gonna be cars. Lots and lots of cars that are very slow moving. And what do cars have? Exhaust gases. Engines that's running blazing hot. Dust everywhere. And then the humidity to make everything I mentioned just cling onto your skin and face and hair. That's exhausting. Does this lizard taste like mint? Canon. Vesper, what's the answer to that? Is it blueberries and mint? I don't know.
I will neither confirm nor deny.
Items I can take, but humidity. It's the humidity. I don't mind heat. If it's nice, dry, warm heat. But sticky, icky, that lemon squeaky heat. Yeah, no. I forgot to brush my teeth. Geb, come in. That's it. I'm in the stream.
Mm-mm-mm.
No. Man, I remember when my cat, he has a tendency to give kisses and like an experimental tongue dab, like one lick, right? But he he did that right as he woke up, and he had the morning breath. Yummy, goddamn!
Oh no.
I'm not joking. It's like when he wakes up, and then he's gonna yawn. He's gonna yawn right on my face. Yes, I imaginary. You mean the desert, if I'm going to be hot, yes. That's when you have the breath spray and spray the cat mouth. Is that a natural thing? I might consider it.
I
It's a
mean, there's
natural-
toothpaste for cats.
I'm not gonna follow. Me, I'm a motorcyclist. I'm a biker. I have impeccable balance. Most of the time. Oh, I've been watching like 4 minutes behind. Welcome to the present, Stratsky. Clearly said something super duper important. That's why I have to scrub my video between 4 minutes and now. If you miss it, oh well. I spade. I spade. I don't know about spade.
Spade, huh?
Sprayed, yeah, but spade. A spade. I
Mm.
spade Cinder Collie. Yeah, it's. Please don't. Those things are necessary, you know.
Yeah, necessary for
They're
hormone
necessary.
regulation.
Yeah, I'm quite attached. I'm literally attached to them. Mhm. I spade chat. What? You know, just in like the anime, right? They're gonna draw their sword, just and then just put it back instantly. Right, and then your nuts is just like. I'm sorry that it's decided to go off topic, but that did re-energize me. Humor, ha-has, and funnies. It's like caffeine minus the GTS. The what? how do you, how do you even spay a bird, right? Oh wait, no. You see, Bombardactyl here is a griffon, so this part, the lower part, is not bird. So, spade chat. Wow, Vesper's getting really serious about rule enforcement. Hello, Howler. How do you even spay a bird? Very carefully, according to the scientist. See, we have a scientist, we have an EMT. Like all the brilliant minds. See, aren't you glad, Snoot and I figured out what your lower half would be? Was a fool. Hello, Axel. How are you, Mr. Wide Open? It's gonna. Yep. Oh, 100%. I haven't even put Dorans yet, now that I think about it. Yes, very apt. I also need to do Reed's request for Striker. Gosh, so harmless. All the brain power we need. Yeah, clearly. Yeah, I believe in science. Okay. Chat. It's 1 hour and 51. I should, you know, get off this balcony that's making me sleepy. Also, thank you, Vesper. Look at that, so clean and efficient.
We don't do song requests.
Can't read the room. So sad. Song request song. Request.
Song requested.
Yep. Oh, the night lizard is tired. That makes me sound like I'm some mid-tier boss in a game, you know, that I drop okay loot, but you're not really gonna farm me because the rest kind of sucks. It's been raining there quite a bit, says how. Shouldn't you grab an umbrella? I should, but that's fine. Keeps me moisturized. Night Lizard is your superhero name. Oh, I'm a superhero now, am I? What would be my powers?
I mean, you've already got light manipulation under your belt. That doesn't do much.
Take my photons, and then I shine a flashlight in their face.
I mean, you're also. Yeah, no, I think they'll find it rather shocking.
No, yeah, that too. I'll see you around, Mr. Goodman. Farewell. The power of minty fresh bread. When I speak, my chances of persuasion increases by 13.4%. That's my superpower. My diligence in keeping my oral hygiene at 10 out of 10. Consistency surely has paid off. Is my viewer count increasing? Right, that's how I was gonna go. Hello, chat. What's up? What's new? Clearly, I'm not super hungry or sleepy. How's your day going? I'm curious who's lurking. Oh my god. What's this? If you can manipulate light, could you hypothetically create illusions? If we see things because of light reflections, they call it a buzz. Yeah, there's a lot one can do with light manipulation. Wow, that was a feel my bones cracking. How does that happen? I just stretched my arm and okay. That's the case. Everybody's waiting for the end of the stream. True, true, true. That's why you need to go. Sure, do your chores. Do your own streams. I know you're gonna do some content too and engage in some parasocial relationship with your viewers. Oh, hello, chat. Thank you for the sub. Oh my god. I know. Go watch a movie. Go eat some food. Go take a bath. Go brush your teeth. Go write something on Twitter that's going to be a hit because it's cloud. Hmm. I parasocial. Yeah. Mhm. Yes, vampire. You know what they say? After 27, every year you get a random debuff, such as sore arm bones. Sore arm bones? Thank goodness I don't have that.
I mean, my arms are sore after working retail for like 6 hours straight, but at the same time, you know, I have an excuse because scan arms and, well, dump it in my bag and then pass them off to customers.
That's true. It's exercise. You just get. It's just like scrubbing the counter, you know? It's like beep, beep. Adapting parasocial chat baiting during Teams calls to boost my status at work. Yes. Savior and destroyers of cities. How can I be two things at the same time? Okay, Mr. Goodman. The mighty hand. You know, I'd probably be the kind of hero that you can rent for cheap, right? Like, sure, I'd save today. Yep. Well, clearly not doing anything tonight. None of my friends are online in VR chat, so let's go and beat some criminals. And then you are taking me out to food. A college. I would do it for free. Sometimes. Maybe. If there was someone I was trying to impress. Like, for example, there's another hero and she's like some hot alien babe, right? Please. It's all for the good of the people. Definitely. It's hypothetical, okay? Oh man. At least I do it for free at times. It's like promotions in a store, right? Giveaways. It's how you attract more customers.
Okay.
Superhero. Yes. My sponsors would be like that local Chinese joint downtown. Yeah, like Mr. Wang, right? Mr. Wang's noodles and dim sum. He's been there since 1958. His eatery is like all old, right? His menu you can barely read because he doesn't bother to replace it. His flooring is just tiles that are cracked and everything. You can see his grandson studying by the counter as you order food. But he serves really good food and it's cheap. 100% gonna be my sponsor. Doesn't pay me with money though, just pays me with free noodles, yes. And an extra dumpling per serving. Fantastic deal. My English is suffering sometimes, says Mr. Goodman. Same here. By sometimes, I mean all the time. I try to sound smarter than I actually am. Ends up fumbling most of the time, though. I'll see you on Wednesday. Yes. How about we let our moderator here say goodbyes first? Ain't it nice? I have a bodyguard right next to me.
Mhm.
Hold on.
Bye, chat. Stay.
There we
Oh,
go.
here.
Horrible
Oh,
lighting.
there.
There we go.
All right. Bye, chat. Stay safe. Stay hydrated. And be sure to eat plenty, okay? I'll catch you next time.
Mm-hmm. Chat said yes. Chat said yes. Whoops, stick drift. Sorry about that. Anywho, I too shall say my farewell. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and most of all, good night, chat. I'll see you again day after tomorrow. I'm back to my regular programming unless something comes up in the middle of the week. But until we meet again, you stay fresh, you stay minty, you stay wonderful, and most of all, not stinky. You're gonna be banned on site if you are. Hold the camera straight. Cinder, Bombard, Nova. Thank you for joining stream. Ard, Waffle, Stratsky, who's lurking somewhere there. Zion, Zeta. I know you're there in the back. I can smell you. Mr. Goodman, Howler, Salis, Guardmaster, Mitzi, and everybody else that I haven't mentioned. I'll see you around. Okay? Hope you had fun. See you too, Axel. Bye.